There was only 1.5 TV channels. That was your introduction, so you saw like film clips of old blues artists like Lead Belly, who was still alive.
Mick Jagger, the point man of the Rolling Stones, was so good at what he did that he was loved by everyone and anyone who came in contact with him. His romantic style made it possible for some of the finest women to love him even from a distance. However, with a myriad of options made available to him on a platter of gold, Mick also had to choose from these women, creating some of the best memories he has today. Without further ado, join us as we uncover all Mick Jagger's girlfriends from 1963 to the present. Number 9. Chrissy Shrimpton. The love affair between Chrissy Shrimpton and Mick Jagger was born out of genuine trust for each other, and for a while, they managed to pull through. It was not an issue of love at first sight, but a process of growth that saw both partners embracing their weaknesses with joy. Mick, who had been a respectable figure from yesteryears, met the beautiful Chrissy in 1963 while he was a student at the London School of Economics. At the time, Chrissy was just 17 years old, but a glance at her beauty assured him that she met his relationship standards. In a series of events, they became so interested in each other that they began to roll up their sleeves passionately. At the time of their meeting, the Rolling Stones were having a good time, and notably, they were making their way in the music industry, not just in the realm of rock and roll, but on a global scale. Jagger and Shrimpton began dating just as the band was about to take off in the music industry. However, Shrimpton was not particularly interested in leaving the rock star life. She was a reserved personality who didn't always enjoy people intruding into her space at times. As far as I was concerned, it was total love, and I'd be with him for the rest of my life, she recalled in Philip Norman's book, Mick Jagger. I hated all the fan hysteria stuff, and I wasn't that interested in running around the clubs and everything rock chicks are supposed to do. All I wanted was to have babies and be normal. As the band's influence began to spread across the world with an increasing number of fans, it became clear to Shrimpton that all Jagger had purported to be, he was not. It was now clear that his unfaithfulness had hit a threshold that would be very difficult to bring back to normalcy. However, she didn't let that disorganize her. Instead, she maintained a stance that gave her the confidence to keep moving at that trying moment. Several times, they almost called it quits, but for reasons best known to them, they managed to swim through the tides of life. Surprisingly, in 1965, they got engaged, and by the fall of 1960, Jagger had found an apartment for them to share while also conveying heart-wrenching news to her that he was no longer interested in getting married. Instead, he suggested that they live as fiancés, while they thought of ways to enjoy their lives indefinitely. This was a significant struggle for Shrimpton and Jagger's families. However, when she decided to move in, she became estranged from her family. When the Rolling Stones embarked on their touring trips, Jagger regularly wrote letters to Shrimpton, which she, on a plain note, didn't take lightly. She affirmed that he was very controlling, very paternalistic, very caring, and always needed to know where she was. During the time he spent at home, their love grew cold by the day, as Jagger was not interested in spending quality time with his girlfriend, preferring instead to give his all to partying and clubbing. By the end of 1966, Shrimpton eventually got tired of being emotionally starved and cheated on, so she broke up with him. Shortly after, it was reported that Shrimpton reportedly inspired several of the darker songs on the Rolling Stones' 1966 album Aftermath and was unhappy with the portrayal of their relationship on the tracks. Speaking to the Daily Mail in 2012, however, Shrimpton said she doesn't blame Jagger for the demise of their relationship. "You can't help going off people, and we were both very, very young," she said. Number 8. Marianne Faithful. From the very onset of Marianne and Jagger's meeting, it looked like the Romeo and Juliet kind of love. If you asked both of them, they were optimistic that it would last forever. So what then happened? How did they fall apart? Jagger and Faithfull's relationship began on a fair note when he and Shrimpton were still dating. At the time, Marianne was 17 years old and passionate about singing. When she met Jagger, they connected like they had known each other for years. They met at a party held for singer Adrienne Pasta. When Jagger saw her, goosebumps ran through his veins. He immediately took an unusual interest in her, even though she was still locked in the arms of John Dunbar. In a series of fortuitous events, she also met the prolific producer Andrew Oldham, who helped secure a deal with the Rolling Stones record label. Shortly after, the muse that comes with being in the record label inspired Jagger and Richards to pen her first song, As Tears Go By. While Jagger had thought she would have easily been caught in his romantic gestures, it did not happen at all. In her autobiography, she wrote that at the time she believed Jagger was immature and she couldn't find any real connection, even though she wanted to be with him. In 1965, Faithfull married John Dunbar, and later that year, the couple welcomed their first child. Contrary to what many had thought, they didn't last long but went their separate ways in late 1966. Though Faithfull had not given Jagger a green light, he didn't abscond with her. Instead, he stuck around. By the time she broke up with her husband, she had changed her mind about Jagger, and it was a win-win for him. At an after-party, Jagger made his intentions known to her, and in the finest of ways, they began dating. At this time, Faithfull was so carried away with his romantic gestures that she couldn't help but express them on several occasions. At some point, she wrote that she was swayed by Jagger's attentiveness, romance, and courtliness. From this point, it was clear that they had a future together as they embarked on lovely trips. By 1966, they made their relationship public, and shortly after, they moved in together. The pair dated through 1967, and by 1968, they had purchased a new home. Jagger took up responsibility for Faithfull's son and helped her kick off her acting career. While it appeared that both were doing very well, behind the scenes, Faithfull was living a life of substances, which, on countless occasions, she affirmed that she didn't fit in with Jagger's peers. She, at one point, verbalized that the relationship was no longer what it used to be because of the cheating spree among them. Once in a while, I did find out about these affairs, but I never said a word. Getting upset about a little weirdness was unhip and middle class, she wrote in her autobiography. I told myself he was Mick Jagger, a national treasure, but I nonetheless began to feel inadequate. I knew I couldn't compete with groupies. Despite their relative differences, Jagger didn't end things himself. He still wanted to make things work for the better. However, Faithfull had other plans, and in the summer of 1970, when he was away on a tour, Faithfull left him. Although their relationship ended on a very sad note, they have since kept in touch and remained on good terms. Number 7. Marsha Hunt. The relationship adventure between Jagger and Hunt can, however, be described as one that culminates in persistence and determination. In late 1968, while Jagger was still having a fling with Faithfull, he met actor and model Marsha Hunt, who, at first sight, sparked his thoughts towards a potential relationship. According to Hunt's biography, Real Life, Jagger's interest in her came on the scene when he asked her to appear in an ad for the band's single, Honky Tonk Women, which she positively declined. But rather than back off, she said Jagger continued his pursuit romantically, until she couldn't resist his pressure and commitment. The pair began secretly dating, and from a place of consciousness, Jagger wrote love letters to Hunt while he was in Australia filming Ned Kelly, and by the time he returned, their connection had tripled because their communication was not short-circuited. It wasn't based on a simple love affair, Hunt later told People. It was based on two people having mutual admiration for each other. By the end of 1969, Jagger professed his love for her, stipulating that he was convinced that what he felt was real love and not fake. Soon after, Jagger made it known to the public that they were expecting their first child, and due to his engagement, the home of the child would be London, and that he would occasionally make trips home or fly them out. During the pregnancy, as Hunt affirmed, Jagger gradually absconded from fatherly duties, which created an unusual thought for her that he was cheating profusely. It even got worse on the said date of his daughter's birth in November 1970, as he was nowhere to be found, even though he had sent flowers and a car to the hospital to take Hunt and Karis home. This created a vacuum in her emotionally, and by the time she could gather herself, she had fallen out of love with him. However, as Karis grew older, Jagger became increasingly involved in her life and rekindled her spoiled relationship with Hunt. Years later, Hunt made a shocking confession when she told the Daily Mail that she didn't regret their relationship, even though she faced some shortcomings at the time. He was educated. He was a radical, she told the outlet. He was not the man people think they know now. Somehow, that all gets lost over time. Number 6. Bianca Perez Mora Macias. Bianca Perez Mora Macias is one of the women whom Jagger loved to a fault. If you didn't know at first glance, you would have thought that she probably used voodoo on him. Mick first met Bianca at an industry event while on tour in 1970, just months before Hunt gave birth to his first child. He was blown away by what he saw, fixating his eyes on her curves and physique. Though she wasn't attracted to him at first sight, she eventually became fond of him as time went on, and what she didn't know was that she would fall uncontrollably for him. "I wasn't attracted to Mick for physical reasons," Bianca later told People. "I found him shy, vulnerable, human, the opposite of everything I had ever imagined." It sounds silly, but it was like a bolt of lightning. The relationship surpassed every critic's opinion, and by early 1971, Bianca was pregnant. This was a welcome development for Jagger, as he was unusually excited about the good news he heard. In May, when she was far along in her pregnancy journey, Mick broached the subject of tying the knot with her, and without exaggeration, she accepted it. The pair later took the bull by the horns and wed in a lavish ceremony in Saint-Tropez, France, alongside many of their famous friends. It was the craze of the moment, but what many didn't know was that Bianca had seen her stance on marriage from the wedding day. Shortly after their wedding, their relationship took a different turn, and what she had expected was no longer forthcoming. Her whole perspective about love changed the moment she realized he wasn't what he had pretended to be. Bianca later told the New York Daily News that she knew her marriage was over on the wedding day. After giving birth to their daughter, Jade Sheena Jezebel, in October, the family spent the first year living between London, Malibu, and the south of France. They continued to live together. However, Bianca could hold it back, but expressed her frustration when she told People that Mick is, in some ways, a misogynist because there are too many women available to him. Mick distrusts women because they are all trying to use him. They are nobodies becoming somebodies. As time went on, Bianca sought ways to manage him while focusing on her career and seeking independence. She maintained this status for a while, and when she could no longer hold it back, she opted for 1 or 2 flings with other people. She told People in 1977 that Mick screws many but has few affairs. That seemingly changed when Mick later began an affair with Jerry Hall. By 1978, Bianca got tired of everything and filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery, which was a year after Jagger began to see Jerry Hall. The divorce ultimately played out in London, where Mick and Bianca settled, with Bianca reportedly receiving $1,200,000, according to New York Magazine. Though she has since left the rock and roll singer, she still keeps the Jagger part as her surname. Number 5. Jerry Hall. How Jagger quickly won over Jerry Hall's mind, leading her to fall in love with him without conditions, needs to be studied. Jagger met model Jerry Hall in 1976, who at the time was engaged to her heartthrob musician Bryan Ferry. Meanwhile, Mick was still married to Bianca. Mick had invited her to dinner to talk things over with her, and before he could say Jack, she had fallen deeply for him. Due to their involvement with their partners at the time, they didn't have ample time together, so they maintained their distance. However, in 1977, they rekindled their affair, and from that point, they went on to create beautiful memories. "My love was so strong I couldn't do anything but follow Mick wherever he led me. I knew he had a reputation as a womanizer, and he was still married, even if he hadn't lived with Bianca for a year, but I was hopeful," she wrote in My Life in Pictures, according to an excerpt published in the Daily Mail. Thereafter, they rented an apartment and moved in together. Life was sweet for them, and when Bianca filed for divorce, they saw an opportunity to live their dream life. In 1980, things went sour when Hall noticed that Jagger wasn't ready to get married, which she reacted to by leaving him to his fate. By March 1984, the couple had reconciled and welcomed their first child, a daughter named Elizabeth Scarlett, and in 1985, they welcomed their son, James Leroy. Despite the ups and downs in their marriage because of Mick's cheating, in November 21, 1990, the pair tied the knot in a traditional Balinese Hindu ceremony. This was a good feat, but it didn't last because it was not legally recognized. After discovering that their wedding ceremony was not legally binding, the pair opted to annul their marriage instead of divorcing. Eventually, they came to a mutually acceptable legal and financial settlement, according to The Guardian. "Getting a divorce is always horrible because you feel you failed," she told The Guardian in 2010. "Everyone hates to give up on a marriage. You think your family's broken up. But we managed to keep the family quite strong and to still be friendly. Divorce is not the end of the world. It's worse to stay in an unhealthy marriage. That's a worse example for the children." Number 4. Carla Bruni. It's truly remarkable how Jagger was able to pull Carla Bruni out of her former relationship, despite the odds being slim. He must be a genius. Jagger and Carla Bruni first met in 1990 while he was still dating Hall, and Bruni was in a relationship with musician Eric Clapton. This happened backstage at a Rolling Stones concert in the presence of her then-boyfriend. Even though Clapton had begged Jagger to keep his distance, the singer didn't take his words seriously and pressed further to woo Bruni. They eventually started dating secretly, and even after speculation pointed out that they were dating, they hid it wholeheartedly. By 1992, Bruni was still claiming that she hardly knew Jagger, even after they allegedly met in Thailand just one day after Hall gave birth to Georgia. It was reported that Hall had called Bruni to leave her husband alone, but Bruni denied that the call ever happened. She was, by all means, trying to protect her man and reputation. Their affair allegedly continued for several more years, and after Mick and Hall parted ways, they continued as a couple. Many accused Bruni of being responsible for the relationship drought that happened between Mick and Hall, but she has since cleared the air on that. "It was a fling," Bruni told author Christopher Anderson, per an excerpt published by the Daily News. "I was in my 20s, so I wasn't thinking about a relationship. There were so many other women with Mick. I don't think I was responsible. There were maybe 10 other women." Number 3. Luciana Gimenez. Throughout Mick Jagger's career, he has always met world-class females, and for him to have met Luciana Gimenez shows that he was always at the top of his game. The meeting between the duo that changed the course of their direction happened in the late 90s, and by the time the model met him, he was still head over heels for his partner, Hall. By late 1988, rumors began circulating that the two were dating, but at the time, there was no substantial evidence to support the claims, as they had been doing it in secrecy. However, the speculations were finally confirmed when it was revealed that Gimenez was pregnant with Jagger's child. This also caused a recoil reaction in the life of his then-partner. When she heard it, she immediately filed for divorce. This wasn't a problem for Jagger, as he saw an opportunity to continue his affair with Luciana. The pair soon found solace in each other, and every day for them became a fairy tale. In May 1999, their long-awaited son was born, and without exaggeration, it was the best moment for the two. With joy and enthusiasm, they named him Lucas Maurice Murad, and with the way it went, Gimenez was the domineering force behind the name, although both of them had made the decision. At the time of his birth, media outlets and news stations were quiet, as if they were in denial of the recent happenings. However, it was not until later that everyone understood that the couple had kept it a secret from everyone, including their close friends. Despite his option to keep things private, it still didn't stop him from bonding with his son, as this became his priority at the moment. After the birth of their son, they developed an unusual bond as the relationship kept getting older. Unfortunately, in a twist of fate, contrary to what Gimenez had thought, their relationship hit a snag, and many happenings began to take center stage. Although the couple tried to manage their differences, the more they attempted to do so, the worse it became. And when they saw that no amount of fixing could salvage the situation, they separated from each other. Even though they called it quits, the duo has since maintained their communication, keeping it on a casual note. In June 2022, Gimenez and Lucas supported the rocker at his British Summertime Hyde Park Festival performance in London. It was beautiful to behold, seeing mother and son cheering for one of the most loved people in their lives. A month later, appreciating the timely role he played in their lives, Gimenez posted a photo of the trio on Instagram to celebrate Jagger's 79th birthday. Happy birthday, Lucas's daddy, full of mood, joy, and strength, she wrote in Portuguese. Number 2. Loren Scott. On a more serious note, Loren Scott is one model and stylist you couldn't take the spotlight away from, even if you tried. So meeting Jagger comes as no surprise because she is deserving of all the respect she gets, and if it comes from a British star, so be it. Their acquaintance was on another level, and for a start, it was visible that theirs was something spectacular. In 2001, Jagger met model, stylist, and designer Loren Scott on the set of a photo shoot. Just after they exchanged eye contact, they were locked in each other's charisma, and because they didn't want to rush things, they kept it low-key while they secretly met on several occasions. When Scott attended the premiere of Jagger's 2002 film Enigma, they were spotted together, giving some couple vibes that many didn't know existed. Although they had not yet come out publicly, there were signs to suggest that they were seeing each other. By Jagger's 60th birthday in 2003, it was clear that they were an item, as they were spotted together again. From that day, they attended several red carpet events, showcasing their love lives to those who cared to watch and listen. In 2004, the pair stepped out looking all clean and classy at the red carpet premiere of Alfie, and the following year, she was his date to the Golden Globes. By 2007, they were already lost in love with each other, and their mutual friend, English interior designer Nicky Haslam, didn't hesitate to share his observations. They scream with laughter at the same things, they like the same food, the same decor, and the same people, Haslam told the Sunday Times. Of all his partners, she's the one who seems nearest to him and his tastes and the way he likes to live. It was no news again that the duo was having the best moments of their lives. They purchased a $10 million home in London and moved in together, as that was one of the major items on their bucket list. Jagger and Scott also shared a home in Paris, which Scott decorated with pieces of art and memorabilia that Jagger had collected throughout the years. At the time, Scott said that Jagger was a big fan of her style, which she took as a huge compliment. "Mick loves what I wear and always has something to say about it," Scott told the Daily Beast in 2009. "Look at the way he dresses. I don't think there's a more fashion-conscious man in the world." Just when everyone thought that Scott was the last stop for Jagger, things turned out to be the opposite. The highly celebrated relationship crashed in a way that was beyond the expectations of many. In March 2014, Scott died by suicide in her NYC apartment. Why she had to do that, no one knew, because at the time, he was on tour in Australia. Upon hearing the news, he broke down completely and had no choice but to postpone his upcoming concerts. He also penned an emotional tribute to Scott. "I am still struggling to understand how my lover and best friend could end her life in this tragic way. We spent many wonderful years together and had made a great life for ourselves," he wrote. "She had a great presence, and her talent was much admired, not least by me. I have been touched by the tributes that people have paid to her, and also the personal messages of support that I have received. I will never forget her." Sincerely speaking, Jagger loved her, and just so he could keep her memory alive in his mind and heart, he began paying tribute to her on her birthdays and honoring her with a scholarship fund at London's Central St. Martin's School. For many years, he has kept this bargain, and I don't think he will ever stop. Number 1. Melanie Hamrich. Hamrich becoming one of the partners of Mick Jagger comes as no surprise to anyone. Who would not be locked in immediately upon seeing a beautiful ballerina do her thing on stage? The pair met for the first time in 2014 when Jagger was on tour in Japan. It was truly a beautiful experience, as he would later affirm, upon meeting her. At the time, Hamrich was on the road with the American Ballet Theatre, and the dancers went backstage at a Rolling Stones show. Before this meeting, Mick was still involved with Scott, and because he loved her so much, he couldn't just discard her. However, he didn't want to miss out on Hamrich too, so they became friends. However, their friendship soon grew, and that June, they were spotted together spending quality time in Switzerland. Many didn't believe it would happen quickly, but before their very eyes, it soon transformed into something profound. They quietly dated over the next 2 years, and in July 2016, they announced that they were expecting their first child. At that time, this news was a big surprise to Hamrich. "I just remember feeling shock at first. I had never thought about having children. It never crossed my mind," she told You Magazine. "In the world of ballet, not many dancers have babies. You're always thinking about ballet, 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 and not really about having children. When I felt that first heartbeat, I realized there was nothing better in the world." In December that same year, Hamrich gave birth to their son, Devereaux Octavian Basil. Ever since they welcomed their son, they have learned to keep their relationship private for reasons best known to them. Hamrich, in recent times, has never ceased to express the joy she feels in knowing she is with Jagger. "I never feel a lack of support, regardless of our not being based in the same city. I feel as though I have more support from him than some of my married friends get from their husbands," she explained. With WhatsApp, FaceTime, and social media, you can now have a close relationship even long distance. "I think the norms of relationships have changed. Or maybe I'm just really modern and independent." In 2020, Speculations of a possible engagement took over the media when she posted an Instagram picture while wearing a diamond ring. However, she has since come out to clarify that although the ring was a gift from Jagger, it doesn't mean they are planning on getting married anytime soon. I mean, I have to giggle because, did Mick give me the ring? Yes. Is it for that finger? Yes, she said. But are we like horny teenagers where we're giving each other? In my mind, it's a promise ring. We'll be immature and call it a promise ring. As for any future wedding plans, Hamrich demurred. I don't know, she said. I'm kind of like a live-in-the-moment type of person, so who knows? Which of these girlfriends did he love the most, and why? Do you also think Hamrich will be his last partner? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.